God, why does this keep happening? Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, is actual garbage. I know this is like my third negative review in a row, but I just can't shake how little time or care was actually put into this bland mush of a moving picture. I mean, I can't necessarily say that I'm surprised. I don't think it's controversial to say that SpongeBob as a show has only been getting worse as it's gotten older. I wasn't expecting anything from this movie for that exact reason, and it's just kind of depressing that my assumptions were correct. They were affirmed. This movie sucked. This movie came out on Netflix on August 2nd. Not Paramount Plus, huh? That's kind of weird. I mean, usually if Paramount produces a shitty movie, they throw it onto their platform. What, do they just not want to add more shit onto their heaping garbage dump of a streaming platform? I mean, I didn't even like Sponge Out of Water, which I know is a film that has its fans, but I don't think anybody is trying to justify this one. I will say that despite this film being an absolutely pointless addition to the SpongeBob cinematic canon, at the very least, this film can be used as a case study, a porta-peek through, so to speak, to help understand where the hell SpongeBob went wrong. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm in New York City this week, and everyone here is celebrating SpongeBob's 25th anniversary, and by everyone, I mean me. So I can't think of a better way to spend it. Spoilers for Saving Bikini Bottom, if you give a shit. Saving Bikini Bottom sets its tone with a grand country-style musical number by Sandy, followed by Bikini Bottom being captured by some giant claw, with the only two characters able to escape its grasp being Sandy and SpongeBob. It's also right here that the film lets you know that its humor is entirely aimed towards a very young demographic, portrayed by the majority of its humor sharing characteristics of random physical comedy that doesn't necessarily have any rhyme or reason to it. Now, before I really get deep into the nitty-gritty of this film's content, I just want to acknowledge an argument that I'm sure someone is going to pose in the comments section, especially if I don't talk about this now. In fact, even if I do discuss this, I'm sure I'm still going to get some comments criticizing my decision to review this movie in some capacity. I understand that this is a kids' film, so my criticism shouldn't necessarily carry much weight. Why should I care so much to even make a video if this is just a silly kids movie? Well, for one, this is my YouTube channel, and making fun of easy targets like this is what I consider to be fun. Primarily, however, I'm just trying to illustrate the significant drop in quality between this and what SpongeBob used to be. I never grew up with SpongeBob, nor do I really consider myself to be a big fan of the show, but I can still acknowledge that the original show and the first film consisted of stories and humor that found a way to appeal to both kids and adults alike. That quality is a testament towards what are often considered to be the best kids films ever made. Movies that are able to be accessible to children while being entertaining to adults as well are very hard to make. So even though this is a kids film, I don't necessarily believe that it should be immune to criticism for that reason. That applies to any movie, no matter what it is, because ultimately, if you say that even poorly made kids movies are immune to criticism, you're devaluing the masterfully crafted artistic merit of movies like The Lion King or Ratatouille, or hell, even the first SpongeBob movie. Most of the humor in this film just feels like either random jargon or just a sentence that the movie tries to convince you is a joke. They fall brutally short compared to the humor present in the original show, but I'll give you a couple of examples when we get there. Anyway, SpongeBob and Sandy leave the ocean and make their way to Texas because a secret science organization there called Boots apparently captured every resident of Bikini Bottom for greedy capitalist reasons. The organization is run by Tsunami. Yes, that is her name. Played by Wanda Sykes, and she has a giant pet fish, a dog, and two servants, employees who help her carry out her big evil plan. The details of the plan are to feed the Bikini Bottom residents some special fish food so they can breathe on land and then clone them so children around the world can have fish as pets who both walk and talk on land so they can cuddle with them? Okay. I guess. SpongeBob and Sandy try to glide their way over to Boots' lab because Sandy is a flying squirrel, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the 25 years that SpongeBob has run around, I don't ever remember that being mentioned. I mean, I'm not going to get strung up here on the SpongeBob canon. I don't really care. I'm just looking for some laughs here. I'm still looking for some laughs here. But they end up being swooped away by a tornado, which Sandy feels the need to point out.
Oh no! A Texas twister! It's pulling us away from the lab!
The two of them then proceed on foot. They're confronted by some snakes who decide to ambush them, and Sandy is perturbed by this. You can tell because they literally say those words out loud.
This is an ambush.
How dare you ambush us?
By the way, characters usually just say how they're feeling or what they're doing as if physical expression isn't enough to do so. See, this is because children don't have the brain capacity to form inferences. It reminds me of those Instagram reels that summarize scenes from movies while explaining everything that's going on screen. We're treated to a Kill Bill reference, and a battle commences. One of the snakes bite Sandy, causing her to... oh god, no. Please, keep DeviantArt away from this. We as a society have fallen so far from grace. What is this shit? Turn it off! Sandy does this whistle thing, which results in her family showing up to save the two of them. After beating the shit out of the snakes, her mom sucks the poison out of Sandy, and she's saved. They hop in a car and are now on their way to pursue the titular cast of characters from Bikini Bottom. Is now a good time to bring up how the animation looks like shit? Not necessarily the movement, but the character models look so bad. Especially Mr. Krabs, he looks like he has no texture. Why do the newer SpongeBob movies choose to go down this path with their animation? 2D is fine, there was no reason to switch to 3D. As Sandy takes some time to reconnect with her family, we're treated to some nice moments, like this here.
Whatever Sandy wants to do with her life is okay by us, cause we love her.
She can do whatever she wants in her life, as long as it's right here in Texas.
What if I told you that sentiment is never brought up again throughout the entire movie? Like they were trying to establish a character arc here, and then they just, forgot to do it for the rest of the movie. Well, what's SpongeBob up to? Maybe he's doing something that could be considered worthwhile.
Say, you look like a gearhead.
Afraid not. Squarehead.
Squarehead! I get it!
So initially I had written into my script me going on a long tangent about how much I hate this joke because I didn't know what a squarehead was. I mean, I just assumed that it wasn't a play on words, because I wouldn't blame this movie for just making a sentence and then trying to claim it's a joke. But no, apparently squarehead is a real thing. It's an informal, derogatory term to mean a stupid or inept person, or it could be used as an offensive term to describe a person of Swedish, German, Dutch, or Scandinavian origin. I'm just gonna pretend it means the second one because that's funnier. Tsunami feeds all of the Bikini Bottom residents their Phase 1 fish food, resulting in more fetish content. Great. Sue tests the formula out on Patrick, Mr. Krabs, and Squidward, meaning the three of them can now breathe on land. Going back to Sandy's family, a police officer shows up behind them and begins pursuing the family. Sandy's brother Randy then floors it in an attempt to get away. After a long chase scene involving twisters, because, Texas, SpongeBob and Sandy glide to Boots Water Park to save their fishy friends. But before that, SpongeBob takes a detour to tickle people's feet? Hey yo, Nickelodeon, after all that shit that just came out about that Dan guy, are you sure you want to be showing feet in your newest SpongeBob movie? Luckily, these kind of dogs get exchanged for another kind of dog, and in a thrilling chase sequence, our protagonists are pursued by Sue's dog. All the while, SpongeBob and Sandy just can't help being super witty, and they just begin dishing out some hilarious quips.
Dogs chasing squirrels? Please say.
Don't eat me! I don't taste good!
Now you know why I moved to the ocean. Land critters are nuts.
Well, I was hoping to make a splash here. Do you feel drained? I'm so drained. Do I look flushed? I feel flushed.
It's the same joke, but with a different word. SpongeBob and Sandy make it to the lab where Sue captures SpongeBob, and then they put him on a roller coaster because they're gonna clone him. And he goes up, and he's having fun, and Sue thanks Sandy for bringing them there, because without her, she never would have found them, because Sandy does research for Boots, which she didn't know that this was the plan, I guess.
A legion of SpongeBobs? Someone kill me now.
Man, Roger Bumpus is really phoning it in, but my ass does not blame him. This is soul-sucking. Now, fair warning, if you have mild heart conditions, you may want to look away from the screen for a bit, because what you're about to see is not for the faint of heart. Yeah, Wanda Sykes is a very poorly CGI'd robot, and SpongeBob gets cloned, and all of the clones decapitate her, and her fish eats her. Sue doesn't feel the need to pursue SpongeBob and his crew anymore, because she was actually just really misunderstood, because she really liked fish when she was a kid and was upset that she just couldn't cuddle with them. That is so weird. Also, this looks awful. I know Nickelodeon movies don't necessarily have a reputation for looking good, but the SpongeBob movies always got theatrical releases and looked spectacular, or at the very least, presentable. This just feels so disrespectful, both to the source material and to me. I don't want to look at this anymore. The bad guys are defeated, Bikini Bottom goes back to normal, and Sandy's family even goes down there to perform for the enjoyment of the many members of Bikini Bottom. The end. Oh hey, this movie's only 75 minutes if you take out credits. At least they got that going for it. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie sucks. There's no silver lining, there's no beating around the bush, other than maybe one or two jokes that I laughed at, like this one.
Hey everybody, it's raining phase ones!
Most of my experience with this film was entirely soulless, but in a weird way, I'm not really capable of being upset by it. This movie is total ass, no doubt, but seeing SpongeBob in this state is entirely understandable to me. It's depressing, but I can see how SpongeBob got to this point. This was a very short video discussing the entire plot of this film, and it's not that I was omitting details or anything other than maybe a couple of jokes. There's just nothing going on here. Because quite frankly, SpongeBob SquarePants is not the same show it used to be when it first came out. It was an absolute cultural phenomenon, Nickelodeon's golden goose, and it made so much money, projected to be over $13 billion from merchandising alone. And now that Steven Hillenburg has sadly passed away, it's clear that Nickelodeon has yet to find another captain to take control of the pivotal task of creating new SpongeBob content. If it's such a difficult task to recreate Hillenburg's magic, then why try it all? Why not reorient your focus to appeal solely to younger demographics by creating nothing but what is essentially just flashy imagery with no style or substance? The absolute bare minimum. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, is not an attempt to create a funny, well-written SpongeBob movie akin to the first, targeted towards kids. It's a corporate reminder from Nickelodeon that SpongeBob is still around. The Sponge's shelf life has been nothing short of staggering. Nickelodeon needs this show because if they didn't have it, they'd literally have nothing. It's a little ironic how fitting this movie's title is, Saving Bikini Bottom, because that's all that Nickelodeon is trying to do. Despite being a show that needs to end, they're gonna keep on trying to save it. They'll just keep milking this cash cow for as long as they can, solely out of desperation because they have to. This was not made under the guise of creativity, but instead one of obligation. This may be purely speculation, but I sincerely believe that if one day SpongeBob has to drop a finale episode, Nickelodeon will have to as well. They just have to keep going. They have to keep making products, movies, and episodes for SpongeBob. Nickelodeon just has to keep going. Because SpongeBob is all that they have left.